So how are you doing?
Can you hear me louder now?
Yeah.
We can hear you good, yes.
Yeah, perfect. I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm getting a little bit nervous, but I'm doing, yeah, I'm waiting for some corona test results. So hopefully I'll get the results tomorrow morning, or hopefully
You
before
will still
lunch.
be in quarantine, right?
Yes, they have made that very clear now. So I've read the what's it called, retningslinjer, guidelines. I read it a couple of times now. So the biggest challenge is public transportation. I can't take public transportation. So, so how are you doing, Loris?
Fine, but pretty busy. Normal work is catching up again quite fast, so I do not have that much time for Imba.
Yeah.
But still trying to fix a couple of things here and there. And I recently got very busy. My badminton club required some fancy program to read QR codes so that we can do our tracking of people in the club at a distance. And I wrote an app with that, and that was my first time that I actually use Imba for something.
Nice.
Nice.
And I'm quite happy with it because really, I mean, of course, with all the stumbling blocks, but I really like the language. It's so much faster, so much quicker. All the CSS stuff, it's a beauty to work with it.
That's good to hear. Very cool.
Very cool. I would have added a clap emoji, but I don't think we can use that when we don't have video. So cool. So here are the proposed topics. Should we add anything else?
No. I'm busy as well as you, Loris, so we should probably keep it quite compact and quick.
Cool. So the first topic is the t-shirt stuff. And I think Eric posted some stuff. Did you look at that, Sindre?
I think he only posted some sketches. I think one of the challenges is that even though I like the sketches, they require some advanced stuff that I don't think you get on any t-shirt print shop, like different colors on arms and the rest of the body, or a different color for a pocket or anything. But I'm not sure, so we should probably research that. But I'm not like, it's not my top priority right now to make sure that we get t-shirts before reaching 4K stars.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. But do you want me to do some sample orders, or should we wait?
I think at least Eric needs to, like, we should probably give him a thumbs up on the design we want, and then he might need to finalize something there, the files for print, I guess. And then sure, we can probably do some test runs, or at least find a list of good potential providers, because there are so many different shops doing that. So
yeah, I see.
So you should add that as a point, like just select the t-shirt provider. Find one.
Yeah, so probably unlikely this year, because Eric was he's traveling back to Africa, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe next year then.
Okay. I think that's a stretch to delay it by three months, because we're busy now. But yeah, we don't need to rush it. So.
Yeah, let's see what happens. So cool. So the next topic is the Imba v2 in the Scrimba code base. Do you want to share some experiences for people who are who haven't followed up?
Yeah, sure. So we've rewritten Scrimba in Imba 2. So not the core player, not the core technology just yet, but all of the pages and stuff. And it's been a very pleasant experience. It's taking longer than expected, as everything does. But we're getting there, and we are going to launch it to this week. And there will still be a lot of like missing features and stuff, but we're going to just through those after we deploy it, because it's so much faster than the previous site that that is much more important than the few bugs that will still be left. I've also experimented with adding, I'm not sure if we should discuss that now or do it in a separate meeting later when I have it more clear, but I started experimenting with sort of an asset pipeline that integrates deeply into Imba and the tooling, because I've always, in every project, I've actually struggled with that, like how do we efficiently include especially SVG files inline that works both on the server and on the client, and then you start with crazy Webpack or roll-up plugins that handle these imports in various ways, etc. So it's much better if we actually do that as part of the compiler, like the language and the compiler pipeline of Imba itself.
Yeah, sorry, I fell out because I was reading a comment in the chat, but like, could you repeat it, like summary?
So basically, I can share my screen for just 2 minutes.
Yeah, let me stop sharing there.
Maybe I should share it on the, just need to make sure I don't share any important stuff. Just gonna find a random basic page.
So yes, Peter, if you're listening, you can use the users.imba.io. I try to follow up there, and that's alternative to Discord. But I would try to get on Discord. At least there's activity there. So maybe you can try recreating with a new account.
You could ask a buddy to do the sign-in, the telephone sign-in for you.
Oh, you have to confirm your phone number? Is that the issue? I don't understand the issue. Yeah, get somebody.
Turn on your microphone if you can.
Just 1 second for me. I'm sorry. I started to...
No worries.
Okay. Well, I hope you managed to join us on Discord. It's quite interesting.
Yeah,
it's where it's happening, really. The discourse is silent, but at least you can ask questions there and someone will eventually follow up, even if it is weeks or months later.
I can share my screen now.
Alexander, yeah, well, okay. Yes.
So it's not really that important, but it's and it's just an experiment to start with. But it's essentially like if you add an assets folder at the top level of your project or at the same level as the Imba config file, then you can actually write. I haven't fully decided on the syntax yet, but you can actually write like SVG. You will see that it auto completes custom tags for every asset that is in that folder. So svg-edit will actually compile to an SVG file with the content of that SVG that is in the asset folder. So it's very good for, like, I don't really like using icon fonts that much because they're not pixel perfect, and they are also, you end up including a huge icon font that might be blocking and add all these CSS glitches while loading the pages and stuff. So in many cases, especially when you want to do some more dynamic stuff on hover and things like that, it's better to use inline SVGs. And with this syntax, you can actually do that, like natively add inline SVGs from a asset pipeline that works both on the client and the server, and that can also be styled like you style any other SVG type of element. So it's in the early beginnings, I'm also experimenting with doing the same, like in styles, where you can actually, if I do this, then you would essentially add it as a inline background image or something. But it's just, I'm trying to solve a problem for the new Scrimba site that I've also experienced in a lot of other, basically every other project I've worked on. So I'm just gonna keep it on the low key, or what they call it, until I think it actually makes sense to launch as a more general feature. But yeah, that's one of the things that come out of the Scrimba rewrite to version 2.
Nice, it looks good.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to note it down, but essentially you're inlining SVG files, right?
Yeah, automatically with auto-completion and previewing. So that's one of the nicer things about it, that you can actually see. So if you wanted to use material icons or feather icons or something, and you don't want to use an icon font, you can essentially just drag in all of those assets in your assets folder. And then you get both auto-completion for the icons and preview when you hover them in the editor.
Yeah.
And you will also only include and inline the actual icons that you use in the project. So I'm probably going to try to use it on Imba.io as well, because there we don't have any icons, and there are many places where it makes sense to use icons instead of text.
So is there like anything you would like to share regarding server-side rendering, like any?
Nothing other than that. We're still working out some quirks, and but it is working surprisingly well. Like before we started this rewrite a few weeks ago, we didn't. I hadn't really even thought about server-side rendering in any serious way for Imba 2, but it turns out that it was pretty much done. So
nice.
So yeah, but we are going to create a skeleton eventually from the Scrimba site as an example of how to do server-side rendering with some client-side stuff, because in the new Scrimba site, we are doing server-side rendering without fully awakening the whole page on the client. We're only like awakening a few components that need to be live, and the rest is just sent from the server. So it's using a different concept that we did in the previous Scrimba site, and that is much more useful if you're developing actual websites as opposed to single-page application.
Nice.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you would like to mention around using Imba v2 now more actively in a code base, or should we move on?
Nothing else than that. I just enjoy it a lot more than Imba 1 already, and I think it is mature enough, besides the documentation, obviously. And some bugs with nested loops, like in tag templates and stuff.
Are these new bugs, or are they, or did you already know about them?
I think most of them, I knew about most of them. I haven't even encountered them in the rewrite. I was just mentioning it related to whether Imba 2 is production ready or not.
Cool. So the next topic is the VS Code extension, and yeah, I haven't really noticed the errors anymore. Like I don't see them. I use the VS Code extension exclusively now. Like that's the only thing. And in my projects, it's working well. And the times that it does crash, it's like invisible. I've gotten so used to seeing the crash that it anymore. Like just close it down and then continue doing what I was doing.
Okay, yeah.
So do you experience any more crashes with the extension, or is it like?
I'm still experiencing some crashes sometimes that I haven't really had time to look into yet. But again, it's working well enough for me. And it's really nice. I think I've added, since the last meeting, I'm not sure if everything has been published in new versions, but most of it has. Like I've added auto-completion for the theme stuff, like for font sizes and the box shadows and colors. And I've also added previews for those when you hover over them, and also previews and descriptions for the different CSS attributes, and it's really pleasant to work with. So since the last meeting, I do think the extension has gotten a lot better, especially if you are doing a lot of styling.
Yeah, I think I might be running an old version which I have symlinked locally, so I need to double check that.
Yeah,
So do you have any more plans for the VS Code extension in the next week?
Nothing until we've pushed out the new Scrimba site. So there is a bunch of open issues. So if you want to follow the development, then I am actually pretty good at adding issues, even for just simple tasks that I need to be doing in the VS Code Imba repository. So you can see most of the stuff that is at least in my plans for the next weeks.
Yeah. So we can move on to the next topic then. Elores, do you want to tell us about the Vite support? I think it was added recently, or I don't remember what was said in the Discord.
Yeah, a couple of things about the plugins, the Snowpack, the Vite, the Vite, actually, let's call it Vite, and ESBuild as well. Let's start with the best. That's the ESBuild. ESBuild is not a bundler. It's just an extremely fast transpiler. And they have recently added as a hidden feature the support for plugins. This is absolutely not official, but I started playing around with it. And I wrote an adapter to compile Imba code using that plugin system. And that is working beautifully well. That only supports Imba and JavaScript, so no support for assets yet, but that's in the pipeline. So I'm very keen, looking forward for ESBuild to make the support for plugin official. Should be happening within the next 2 months, I expect. So that's a nice thing to look for. Then on the Vite side, I ran into a few smaller issues that I tried to solve.
Yeah.
It's basically, for Imba code to work, we need to load a runtime that is stored away in the node modules. This runtime is not addressed with the file extension, with the Imba file extension, but just with no extension at all, meaning that the resolver that scans the node modules should be supporting Imba extension as well. This interface has not been made public by Vite, so I had to go through an ugly hack to actually patch it, monkey patch it, to have it support. That works well as long as you're using NPM or Yarn, but as soon as you use the PNPM, which is a very nice tool, but it works with soft links, then it starts breaking apart. So I still have to find out how to fix that. I'm in contact also at the Vite side. I raised an issue about that, and let's see how that gets fixed. Also, a couple of people, they were asking me how to include other modules, particularly the router. I have not yet played with the router, so I will eventually support that as well. But Sindre, I need some very simple, basic code to get us starting with the router. Otherwise, really, it's a matter of studying the whole code from A till Z, and it's rather complex. I know that you support quite a lot of different cases, but just for getting us started, what is the main entry point? That would be interesting to know. Just if you can publish a quick gist on GitHub, that would be good.
Yeah, and I also think we should probably have a few more discussions, either on like meetings like this or on GitHub, and together try to identify and resolve the, find out how we are going to load the library from various places, because I think I added an issue about this as well. There are so many cases, right now the compiler is kind of weird, where it, with some options, it automatically inserts like import imba /src/imba blah blah blah. In some cases it skips it altogether, and the reason is that you want to be able to in Scrimba, the new Scrimba site, we initially actually imported and included the Imba library in the bundles themselves, but then we ended up with 2 different bundles for 2 different parts on the same page. So we wanted to extract it and just let it load Imba as a separate file. And I don't really have a good overview of all the cases, but we should probably find a better
Well, right now, the options that you're offering in the core compiler, they suit me well. I mean, of course, they're not official. They're not documented anywhere. At least I couldn't find. But yeah, you have options like standalone or not standalone. Then you have options to extract the CSS or not extract the CSS. All these things, they are very useful at the moment that we start doing a little bit smarter HMR, for example, where the page does not get reloaded if the only change is the styling. That would be a very nice to have feature. But well, I don't have time right now, but I would like to start playing around with it. So yes, I keep an eye, have an eye on your improvements on the compiler and also with this JSON file that you use for bigger configuration items. And yeah, if something gets a little bit too painful for me, I start screaming out.
yeah, do that. Please do that. But just one question about ESBuild. So doesn't it do any sort of bundling? Like, does it not do any of the same things that Rollup does, where it essentially can move several ESM modules into one big file?
Yes, it does the bundling only with JavaScript code or any code that can be translated to JavaScript. So basically, when we talk about a JSX or similar, so there are plugins for Svelte, there are plugins for React and similar stuff. So that is all fine. So JavaScript gets bundled. They have a very nice system of tree shaking and removing dead code and doing some analysis and also moving forward and backward in the JavaScript compatibility lists. That is very, very nice, but it is restricted to JavaScript. So at the moment where you want to start integrating SVGs or CSS or do some fancy thing with several HTML files, then you're a little bit on your own. That is not yet included. But the ESBuild, the code is very professionally done. I really like the way how things have been designed. Everything that is required is made available through properly documented interfaces. So I feel quite confident about ESBuild. Not so much about, not at the same level with Snowpack and Vite. I have smaller complaints about each of those. Vite, for example, is a very static, rigid structure that forces you to use certain folder names for the different parts. Alexander, this is a question for you. We should be aligning the different templates and use some kind of a standard folder structure, where to place the assets, where to place the sources, where to expect the transpiled code as well. I saw different templates, and they all had different things. For example, using public as the destination folder, and that confuses people. Public is used for some bundlers to host CSS and HTML files.
Yes. So I think it's because of where the project was coming from or the various setups. So the Webpack stuff will look different. The Rollup stuff looks different. So I was thinking that either I would clean it up at some point. I was hoping to look at some of the projects last week, but I went into my own projects and fell in a rabbit hole. But we could do that together, or either me or Sindre cleans it up later. That's basically how I was looking at it.
Yeah, I would love if we can sketch out some very basic documentation about it. Doesn't need to be on the official documentation page, but just put something on Discord or somewhere else, what you have in mind or what you would love to see, so that I can comment on it. We have very little interaction except on these Monday meetings. The interaction needs to be a little bit better. There are a couple of times we have some open questions, and they would very much benefit from pretty immediate answer if that is possible, so that we can just have an ongoing discussion about that. And because I need to tell you guys as well about some rigid bundlers. Vite, for example, does not allow me to use different folder names, so there we have a problem.
Yeah. Can I ask you one
we have to see how to solve it.
So one more question about this. Now that you actually used both Snowpack.
Sorry, I'm losing you. Hold on.
Still losing me?
Loris, can you hear us?
Hello?
Can you just leave and then join Uloris? We can't hear you. Let's write in the chat, maybe. So, let's see. We can't hear you. Hopefully you can see the chat messages.
Yeah.
I hear you, Sindre. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So anyways, maybe if Uloris can hear us, then... No,
I don't see anything from his mic. Oh, he's writing hello. No, we can't hear you.
But can you hear us, Uloris? Because if you can, then I can at least just...
Great. Then just talk, Sindre. Or he's disconnecting.
I can wait for him for his disconnect.
Yeah, I didn't see the message.
But while he tries to reconnect, I was going to ask him, like, now.
Yeah, you can just wait. You can just wait when he comes back. There's no point in saying it 2 times if you can say it 1 time. So,
I see.
But he had some good feedback though with the recommended template thing, and also the being available. That's good feedback.
See, now he's coming back in.
Can you hear us now?
We still can't hear you, Uloris.
No, there's no sound.
Now you should be able to hear me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you now.
Sorry about that. I'm very much ashamed. My computer just decided to play up on me. Sorry for that, guys. Really.
No problem.
No
So I was going to ask that now that you actually dug into Snowpack and Vit, do you think that, so in the new Scrimba rewrite, we are essentially running a server like Vit and Snowpack, but just for Imba files. Like we are essentially like using ESM modules and resolving them live from the server. So I'm wondering, do you think like how complex are these things like Vit and Snowpack? When you use ESBuild and we actually use our compiler for a lot of stuff, do you think it would be really difficult to roll our own eventually instead of relying on something like Vit?
It is not difficult to roll your own. There are a number of border cases that you have to take care of. So both Snowpack, Vit, and ESBuild, they all wrote the whole resolving library from Node from scratch, with of course a lot of border cases, a lot of issues that had to be fixed over time. So it's a learning experience, I would say, and you're just basically duplicating code that some other people broke their heads trying to sort it out.
Yeah.
So my strong suggestion is that you try to make it compatible with Snowpack or with Vit, but not today. There are things that I did not like about Snowpack. Snowpack basically uses Webpack or Parcel for the final bundling, and I do not like either of those two. So I used ESBuild for bundling integrated in Snowpack. It is something very strange what I did. It works for me, it works for other people, but it will probably not work for a complex project like Scrimba.
Yeah, but I do think that that's the point, that especially when we start moving even the assets inside of the Imba compiler, and we're already doing styles in Imba, so we don't need to support like CSS and less and Sass and all these fancy.
Well, in that case, I suggest. I mean, are you comfortable with Go?
I don't know any Go, but.
Well, but you wouldn't have a problem setting up the compiler and just compiling something from scratch.
No.
Because that is basically needed if you want to have plugins working for ESBuild. Yeah. In that case, I will make my ESBuild code. Well, it's JavaScript, it's not Go, of course. I will make that available on GitHub, and you can play around with it. That is very simple indeed. And if you can then integrate that in the plugin schema of ESBuild, that would be great. You would benefit a lot from it. and you don't reinvent the ball. And ESBuild being written in Go is extremely fast, much faster than anything that you would probably be able to do in JavaScript.
Yeah, I think that the bottleneck if we choose to, like, for example, build the Scrimba bundles using ESBuild and plugin for Imba, I think the bottleneck will obviously be the Imba compilation. But then it is also possible to add like caching, offline caching from the Imba compiler, where it actually caches the compiled output of files and checks some.
Well, I did a caching in that plugin for ESBuild, because otherwise it would go twice or three times through the same code. And I implemented some very LRU-based caching, and it just works well. But then again, I do not have a big Imba code base, so it's imperceptible for me, the change in speed.
You know, there's no code base in Imba grows big, so.
Well, it's time to change that.
Yeah. But yeah.
So before heading on to the next topic, I just wanted to comment on what you said earlier, Loris. I think it's a great idea to have some dedicated time. So I'm gonna try to think about it and then maybe propose some times to Sindre. I know Sindre is busy, so it's probably unlikely we get him to commit on something there. But I'm gonna review my calendar. I think it would be good to.
It can be a shared time slot, but it can also be any other communication means that where we can kind of have some kind of a communication. It can also be offline using WhatsApp or anything, or email. But I don't know what you guys are used to.
So, like, at least if you want it to be synchronous, like the live stuff, then I think the Discord chat is the best thing.
Yeah.
But how about using users.imba.io more actively?
I'm fine with it as well. I just if it's not that, then I'm willing to use it.
My experience with that and basically any other thing we've tried to use is that Discord has been the only thing that's actually stuck now. So I do think it's much better to use Discord and use GitHub issues just more actively. You can easily create discussions on GitHub issues, and then we can discuss things there.
Yeah, I just didn't want to. I didn't want to spam GitHub with things that maybe in a quick chat, Discord chat can be fixed easily. But we can use GitHub as well.
Yeah.
And the other thing in GitHub, we have several channels. I suggest that if we find a suitable topic, that we start expanding to the other channels as well.
Are you talking about Discord or GitHub?
Discord, sorry.
Yeah.
We have archive, off-topic events, announcements, welcome docs, notifications, meeting notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, meeting notes would be nice to have on Discord.
Okay, Alexander, that's for you.
No, we don't already have that. Let me double check.
We do already have meeting notes, but we're not using them.
We're not using it.
So
we have to start. Sorry, Sindre, you're saying?
No, I was just saying the same thing.
Yeah, we have to start using Discord more actively. And use it more actively.
I really like Discord. Like, I remember I was not using Gitter much when we used Gitter, but I end up getting back to Discord and being like fairly active even in the Imba channel as opposed to what I was before. And when we're out of this crunch mode, I think I will be much more active again as well. I'm going to get back to the V2 documentation very soon, I think. So.
Yeah, so if you guys have any ideas about bots we could add, I was looking at it for some Scrimba stuff earlier. It's like a huge ecosystem. Not that it's very important to add, but like I think, if you come up with a bot that's good, maybe we can add it. And
Alexander, how do you feel about that suggestion that somebody made, and I do agree with it, of moving the YouTube bot to a different channel? I mean, to take it out of a generic and put it into notification or even YouTube.
Yeah, I can do that. I saw the message from Bohuslav, but I just had other things to do. So I can move the the notifier.
It's not really to remove it from general, but it's really to spread it out a little bit. That way we get a bigger use base as well. People that are more focused on documentation or more focused on some other things. Otherwise, everybody just focuses on the active channel.
Yeah, I can actually do that right now. So I'll move it to, yeah, maybe a new channel, YouTube. That's better. It's a good suggestion. But we want the views.
It's really weird to me, like answering Peter from the Zoom group chat. Is there essentially no way? So we're never using Discord now to actually do voice chat. Is there no way to be able to participate and write on Discord without a permanent cell phone number?
I don't know anything about it, to be honest.
No, me neither.
Oh, there's a time limit on the notifier bot. I'll remove it in 19 seconds. So I created a channel. So if you have any feedback related to Discord, please drop them on Discord. I'll try to read it this time.
It's a problem if your problem is that you can't register on Discord.
Oh yeah, Peter, please figure it out. If you figure it out, let us know in the next meeting. And
like, do you need to verify the account to be able to chat at all, or is that maybe just okay? That sucks.
Okay, Peter, you can get in touch with me offline. You find my email on the GitHub as well, and we will work something out to get you on to Discord.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks, Eloris, for helping out. So the final topic is the documentation status. And once again, broken promises. So last week, I actually had time. That's the truth. But like, it's more fun writing Imba than documenting Imba code. And yeah, so.
Okay, Alexander, let me give you some wisdom. I mean, I'm smart-assing now, but with my nearly 50 years, I can tell you I have quite a lot of life experience, and it's always nicer to do your preferred jobs than to do what is actually required.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you wanted feedback on the checklist. Yeah, I opened it once and I closed it. I'm sorry. I have to look at it again.
So it obviously wasn't addictive enough. You need to give it a second try.
Well, I was talking about a lady making up with the boyfriend and with the parents.
It was pretty addictive for a documentation outline, to be honest. So.
Okay, guys, now seriously, how do we expect, or what kind of, I don't want any false promises here. How do you expect to move ahead with documentation? We can use the way how we are doing it right now. So Sindre, you start writing little bits here and there, which, by the way, there was an improvement on the documentation in the last 2 months or things like that. I really appreciate it. Job well done. But the structure continues to be the same. Some people come and go. They have less time to get involved. So that will happen with all of us. So if we want to do a better documentation, we need to come up with some kind of a roadmap and clearly assign timelines and responsibilities, small pieces, of course, not to exhaust people, to different people.
So I can if I can share the screen again, just for a second.
Sure. I'm gonna stop sharing.
I actually have a branch that I haven't pushed yet because there is not that much content there. But when we get the new Screenba site out, I am going to. Which screen am I sharing now? Do you see my cursor?
Yeah.
Yeah, bank evocation.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I've started in the local branch here. I've started adding just a reference section. It's not going to look like this, but where I just add files for each concept that I think we need to explain, as I talked about before. And the next thing I am going to do with documentation is to just get back and fill out many more of these. So they won't be well structured at all, but with some search, they will actually at least be like, you will have some basic decent documentation on every concept that is worth documenting, I think. And then others can help more in actually organizing that. So most of these are just placeholders now, but like as an example, someone asked about how do you do two-way data binding, and then I just created a markdown file for that to remember it and created an example that shows it. I'm not even sure how this example works now, but that's the way I'm going to make the documentation going forward. And that's mostly not necessarily for public documentation, but for documentation for the people who are going to write the documentation. Like
yes,
actually,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, then we can just copy paste or shift around things or start actually building up some prosa using these different bits and pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, sounds very nice, sounds very good. If you can create a new branch eventually and push that out.
Yep, I will. I've actually I created the branch. I think it's called new outline or something that is not related to what it really is.
Okay, on my side, I finally managed to install Linux locally on my PC as well, so a subsystem, so I will be able to compile this.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
We should also get on the fact that it doesn't really work well on Windows. Like there are so many different things that are quirky on Windows. I do think the VS Code plugin is quirky as well because it doesn't respect the Windows new lines and stuff somewhere. So I think there will be problems with offsets and locations for hover and completions and
I had some pleasing experience with VS Code, so yeah, very much impressed with all the previews. That is working fine.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's good. Cool. I have one more like fun thing is that I actually added as a part of the Scrimba, the new Scrimba thing. I actually just in 1 hour or something. I think it was 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. I actually created a tiny editor for, you can see the screen now.
Yeah,
for assembling the cover art for the files, and just doing this in Imba 2 with the touch events and touch modifiers, where you can actually like convert, jump between coordinate spaces just by using an event modifiers and stuff, is insanely nice. So it's like incredibly easy to create these kinds of things in a matter of hours. So it's really fun.
That's great. By the way, are you testing all these interactions with the different browsers? Because, well, at least Chrome and Firefox, because there was an issue with Firefox, the touch events. Firefox actually got completely hung up. You really had to reboot the whole thing, and that was, related to Imba, I have to say.
So I don't think we should focus our efforts on Firefox for the first 3 releases. Yeah, it was an obvious bug. It was as I showed you, it was just a tiny weird bug. So that's fixed. I'm testing with Firefox sometimes now to make sure it works, and I can that just for fun. That would be see if this works in Firefox now. Let's see. Oh, yeah, it seems to work.
Okay, well done.
Yeah, that will be fun when we actually get the new Scrimba site out. It will be a good live deployment where we will experience a lot of these weird cross-browser issues and stuff. So yeah, that's it, I think, for me.
It looks impressive.
Yeah, that's at least for the time it took to create it. I was baffled myself, like how powerful the touch event modifiers are. They replace so much boilerplate code that I've written for all my previous projects.
Nice. So I'm just thinking what you showed us looks great, but with regards to the documentation, so I'm just thinking, like, for example, for me personally, I have one thing that's on my agenda, like that I want to use Imba for, or a couple of things, and those topics are really important for me to do. Yeah. So and they are not documentation, to be honest. So one is like I already use Imba in a project, Imba 2, I mean, and it's working for me. But second thing is like I'm not going to dwell on this, but I'm not a fan of like the current state with static rendering, like how you do that and how much hassle it is with Imba. I'm not talking about server-side rendering in itself, just like if you wanted to use Imba for creating a static site, like partially if you have a site and parts of it is dynamic, parts of it is a single page application and so on, that's like a pain. So that's something I would like to address for my own projects, and it's unrelated to the whole Imba project. So I think that's what I would be focusing on. And I'm not sure how I'm going to be contributing to the documentation, to be honest.
Okay, yeah.
So I know you, Loris, you posted this checklist thing. Like, do you still want me to look at that outline and then give you feedback on that? Or like, because should we try to get stuff on GitHub so we have more issues on GitHub so people can cherry pick what they want to work on for the documentation? Or I'm not sure how we're going to work on the documentation, to be honest.
Well, Eric had made some very nice, very interesting, very complete stints into the documentation, writing some guides. I like his style. I was avidly reading those guides. They're very nice, well written as well. Eric just told us that he will be having less time. Yeah, indeed, he's moving. I'm not that much into documentation, so I'm not really good at writing prosa. I had the idea originally to decide a little bit on the global structure of documentation, but Alexander, if you don't have time or you don't feel like diving into that topic right now, then we can just leave that on aside. And as long as Sindre continues to write tiny bits and pieces of new functionality or functionality that people are requesting to be documented, for example, the router part or some other topics that are not directly obvious to a beginner, then I think for the time being, that is, well, if not perfect, that is good enough, at least to cover these days. If later on we manage to get somebody on board who is very much into documentation or he wants to really improve, that is nice. But I don't want to force you, Alexander, to review the Next.Wist stuff if you don't feel particularly inclined.
Yeah, to be honest, like I would rather work on. I have a couple of private Imba projects that I've been prototyping for a while, and I would much more like to get them out in the public. So yeah, that's just the honest truth, really.
And I appreciate. And you, Sindre, if you have some ideas or if you are motivated in changing structure or in reviewing my proposal, I'm all ears, and we can work on that as well. So just the way how you guys feel. Otherwise, we can just leave this a little bit on a cool down and take it up again sometime later in the future.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the outline looked good. I think I've responded about that before. I think the main challenge now is that neither me or you are good at writing the prosa. So actually filling out the outline is not, will take a lot of time for us. But I do think the best way forward right now is probably that again, I do write these short blurbs and try to, as good as I can, explain all the various parts of the language in a pretty technical, straightforward, boring way. Also use Scrimba more. Now that we're launching the new version, I think I will be more motivated to start populating it with more Imba 2 content. And then if we do, I think we should at some point after that, like when things have stabilized a little, we should do a new push to get more expert, like early evangelists on board. And then we will discover, like the last time I just published a blog article about Imba 1 and the Memoized DOM a long time ago. Like just that single article resulted in 1,000 or 1,500 stars or something. And also like 10 to 15 people who became really active and wanted to contribute and write guides and do all of that. But then it kind of dwindled down because things were in a limbo and I was going to do Imba 2 and I wasn't really responding on the channels and stuff. I do think we are in a much better position right now take action when we get a new wave of people coming in.
Indeed, it just very briefly on the documentation, on the current documentation, there's one part that I dislike.
Yeah.
That is the sub tabs that you have to click on to read the different topics. I am not used to that. When I read documentation and I feel motivated to read documentation, I like to read it from the top to the bottom of the page. And sometimes it happens I reach the bottom of the page and I forget that there are additional tabs that contain some additional information. There are no reminders at the bottom of the page that you can actually look at different subsets, and you miss a lot of content if you do not click through those half-hidden tabs. So I really prefer to get rid of those tabs, or to arrange them differently, or to have an option to open them up and have them all sequentially listed, or any other kind of proposal. I don't know yet.
Yeah, but I agree. I will. That's one of the things I will do when I get back to the documentation. So hopefully in the middle of next week, I think we'll have that working. That's not a promise, but it's a semi-promise. I will try to do that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So is there anything else we should talk about?
I think Peter has mentioned a lot of stuff in the chat, and since he can't get on Discord, it's difficult to continue the discussion there. I'm actually starting, I think he's been pitching some of this before. I'm starting to understand like some of the idea of a peg parser where you can actually integrate at the compile time some external parsing and logic for specific tags and stuff that matches certain patterns. But it's not in scope right now. So I think we should first get him an account on Discord, and then we can take it from there later on.
Cool. So does 2 weeks from now work for the next meeting?
I think so, but preferably, I'm not sure for you, Loris, preferably I would want to have it at 2 p.m. Instead.
Does that work for you?
Or later, or like 8 p.m. or something.
8 p.m. for me suits me very well. 3 p.m. is in the middle of my workday, so it depends if I have meetings or if I'm busy with some other stuff, then I might not be able to participate. So let's say if we do that at 6 p.m. onwards, it's fine for me.
Yeah, 6 p.m. is kind of hard. I have to do my workouts there. So
7 p.m.
7 p.m. is fine as well.
Yeah, that's also problematic. But what about trying 8 p.m.?
Yeah.
8 p.m. or 2 p.m.
You choose a time. I will try to adapt myself.
Sounds good. Then we'll try 8 p.m. because that's the time I can make.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Okay, you will find me sleeping, but that's okay.
So what's 8 p.m.? What time is that for you locally? Like, where are you situated?
I'm situated in Belgium, so that is also 8 p.m.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. So we can try. If the energy level is really low at 8 p.m. the next time, we'll move it to 2 or something instead.
Yeah, that was my point.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Bohuslav wants to show something. Yeah, sure. Let me stop sharing. Try sharing your screen now.
Okay. I just cannot start share.
Are you sure?
Wayland.com. Oh, Zoom doesn't support share on my on my OS. I just wanna share you something. I have a screencast. I shared it in Discord before.
Do you have the link to the chat? I can maybe show it from the browser here.
Okay.
Okay.
And when I run it in Chrome, I have a problem.
So, okay, let me try to share the screen again. Just closed up everything. So, can you see my screen again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So, this is the link. I'm having some issues on this machine. Hopefully it loads. That's very slow. Okay, so tell me what to do.
Run and click the button.
There. Play around.
And as you see, the touch is fired, but the right click on that button. Is that normal behavior?
I have to break this down.
So if you search, yeah. So you're not actually. You should be able to maybe do. It is actually an interesting problem that we need to think about, because the touch, you do need to capture the touch before the click event happens if you want to do like fluid touch events with dragging and stuff like that. You could maybe, there are some ways to override it. I agree that that probably shouldn't be the default behavior. If you do like a self modifier on the touch, like @touch.self, then at least, no, then it won't trigger it at all. So, so what do you want to happen? Do you want like the touch to be triggered and the click to be triggered at the same time?
No, I want click to be triggered, but I can show the use case. I have a app, and the app is also mobile. And on mobile, there are two panels, side panels, drivers. And I want user to be able to drag that drivers, that side panels. You can go to my site and see how it works on Imba 1, balls.live.
Yeah, I think I have it bookmarked.
Yeah,
there. So
turn on mobile view.
Okay, mobile view. So is this small enough?
Yeah, and now you can this panel, you can drag it aside.
I'm not sure I'm following. What do you mean drag?
Yeah, I mean you can touch this side panel, all the panel.
Oh yeah. Like this, right?
Drag it to the right side. Nothing happens.
No.
Click, hold, and then drag.
I have a trackpad. Maybe that's the issue. I'm doing some gestures automatically with my hand.
Try to do that without mobile view, but the screen to be very width, decrease the width of the viewport.
Oh, okay. I see.
Well, and anyway, I understand the use case, Bohuslav. I do think.
Now try to drag.
Sindre understands it. That's more than enough. So.
But if I could I, where did you find the link to the scrim now? Because I can also check it out.
It's in the chat. Check the chat.
But where in the chat? I thought I was actually looking in the chat.
Zoom chat.
Oh, in the chat on the Zoom. Okay.
Yeah. Here is also the site.
Because I do think that maybe.
I'll try visiting it here on an iPad to see if I can do it.
We're running a really old version of Imba 2 though on Scrimba.
Oh, it does work here. Okay, cool.
So it's actually, I do think it will work, Bohuslav, if you, let me try again.
It works on Safari, mobile Safari, but it doesn't work on Firefox and
Chrome.
On Firefox it works, but in Chrome it doesn't. And I have the latest version.
Okay, that's interesting. Then it's more like if it works, if it has the intended behavior, the behavior you want in Safari, then it's more probably like a bug that I can actually try to work out instead of a different. That I will investigate it. I can't promise to do it, or I can't do it today, but I can probably promise to do it by Wednesday or something. Just try to figure it out why it doesn't work in Chrome, because then it's much more like just a bug, discovering a bug.
Cool. So and maybe it's also worth creating a GitHub issue if it doesn't already exist.
Yeah, please do that, or I can do it. But yeah.
Great. So let's wrap up. We'll try to have the next meeting on a different time. I'm gonna add reminders in the Discord and read it actively this time. So yeah, see you on Discord.
See you.
Bye. Thanks.
Perfect. Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.